Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveils India's first private rocket that can place satellites into orbit. France to introduce a 10-month voluntary military service from next year in face of Russia threat. Russia sentences 8 to life in prison over 2022 blasts that partially destroy the Crimean bridge. And a general sworn in as Guinea-Bissau's transitional president after army ousts incumbent leader. First up, the latest on the U.S. shooting. President Trump has called it an act of terror. The suspect has been identified and believed to have entered the U.S. from Afghanistan in 2021. President Trump called for re-examination of Afghan immigrants who entered the U.S. during the former President Joe Biden's administration. The suspect, who was wounded in an exchange of gunfire before he was arrested, was identified by the Department of Homeland Security as Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, an Afghan national. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service said late on Wednesday local time that it has indefinitely stopped processing all immigration requests relating to Afghan nationals.
This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity.
Earlier on Wednesday, 2 U.S. National Guard soldiers were shot at in Washington, D.C. The shootings took place at a metro station 2 blocks away from the White House and in mid-afternoon when streets and nearby businesses are packed. The chief of U.S. agency FBI said that both soldiers, part of a militarized anti-crime deployment around the U.S. ordered by President Trump, were in a critical condition. In the wake of the U.S. shooting, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said that President Trump has asked for 500 additional troops to be deployed to the U.S. Capitol.
President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army, to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic. The increase in safety and security has been historic. But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence against America's best, we will never back down. President Trump will never back down. That's why the American people elected him. America and our warriors, our National Guardsmen, are strong.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday that Russia will stop fighting if Ukraine withdraws from territory claimed by Moscow. He said that the outlines of a draft peace plan discussed by the U.S. and Ukraine could become the basis of future agreements to end the conflict in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukraine's foreign minister said on Thursday that the U.S. and Ukrainian negotiating teams will meet soon, adding that Kyiv will focus on specific steps in a peace proposal under discussion.
Найближчим часом слід очікувати.
In the nearest future, it should be expected that the negotiation teams will meet. What are we expecting? Our expectation are concrete results so that progress can be made. It is extremely important for us, and Ukraine has demonstrated this repeatedly, to achieve a truce.
Демонструвало досягнення.
A Russian military court on Thursday sentenced 8 men to life imprisonment for the 2022 explosions that partially destroyed the Crimean bridge, an incident both Moscow and Kyiv say was orchestrated by Ukraine's secret services. The defendants were convicted in a closed-door trial in Rostov-on-Don on charges of carrying out a deadly terrorist act, illegally obtaining weapons as an organized group, and smuggling explosives. The attack on the 19-kilometer Kerch road and rail crossing in October 2022 killed 5 people and caused a collapse of 2 sections of the highway. Kiev acknowledged responsibility for the attack, saying that it was aimed at disrupting Russian military logistics on the Crimean Peninsula. France's President Emmanuel Macron on Thursday said that France will introduce a voluntary military service of 10 months beginning next year. France has decided that in the face of a growing threat posed by Russia. President Macron spoke about the voluntary service during a speech to troops in southeastern France. He said volunteers, mostly aged 18 to 19, would be deployed only on national soil.
Service national va être institué.
A new national service will be introduced gradually starting next summer. This service aims to achieve 3 specific objectives: strengthening the bond between our nation and our army, enhancing our nation's resilience, and consolidating the education of our youth.
Guinea-Bissau's military appointed General Hortha Ntanaman as the country's new leader for the duration of 1 year on Thursday, a day after seizing power, arresting the incumbent and derailing the announcement of election results. The African Union Commission's chairperson condemned the military coup and called for the immediate and unconditional release of President Umaro Sissoco Embalo and all detained officials. In Hong Kong, police officers searched the building maintenance company responsible for a Hong Kong housing estate where a devastating fire killed at least 65. Hong Kong leader John Lee said that the government will set up a $38.57 million fund to help the affected people. He announced 1,000 units of youth hotels or hotel rooms for residents to stay in for up to 2 weeks. A tropical cyclone unleashed floods and landslides in Indonesia's Sumatra, killing at least 61 people and displacing thousands on Thursday. Power outages and damaged homes have hampered rescue efforts to reach residents stuck in remote villages in the affected regions. Meanwhile, the death toll from floods in southern Thailand rose to 55 and 2 in neighboring Malaysia, with tens of thousands now in evacuation centers in both countries. The party of Pakistan's jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan demanded a meeting with him on Thursday, saying that it was worried about his health as he has been barred from seeing his family and lawyers for over 3 weeks. Khan's family and party members protested outside the jail in the garrison city of Rawalpindi in recent days, demanding a meeting. Reports citing an unnamed jail official said that the former premier was in good health and that there were no plans to move him to any other facility. Imran Khan has been in jail since August 2023, serving a 14-year sentence on corruption charges, one of dozens of cases he says were made up to keep him out of politics by the army. The International Monetary Fund has voiced optimism and caution at once in its assessment of Germany's economy. For more on its forecast for the German economy, we are joined by Deutsche Welle's Warda Imran from Berlin. Warda, what does the IMF predict for Germany as the year 2025 is wrapping up?
Thanks for having me. Well, in a nutshell, the IMF mission predicted economic recovery and growth for Germany that's powered by the landmark reform of the debt brake. It's something we've talked about often, how Germany is going to increase its spending in infrastructure and defense. This spending will spark the recovery, the IMF say, and this will lead to acceleration of domestic investment and spending. However, this is kind of a long-term assessment. In the medium term, though, the picture is still gloomy. Germany's rapid aging population and a drop in productivity are still hindering growth. The IMF also said that in the second half of 2024, Germany's economy was kind of on its way to recovery, but trade issues and Trump's tariffs this year really stunted that growth. Germany's GDP is set to rise by only 0.2% this year.
How is the mood among businesses?
Well, not good if I'm being honest. In fact, the mood is actually quite sour. And I'll tell you why I know this. This week, the German Family Business Association, an organization that represents family-owned businesses here, said they've lifted a ban on contact or working with the far-right AfD party. Now, you must be asking, why is this a big deal? Well, most parties and businesses have agreed not to work with the far right. And with this kind of blockade, they were able to ensure that the far right parties don't influence businesses. However, with this lifting of the ban, it shows that working with the far right, if it's good for business, isn't out of the question anymore. And that's new and could be setting a dangerous precedent.
All right, Varda, thank you. Varda Imran reporting there from Berlin. And still to come on DD India Live. Principal Secretary to Prime Minister addresses centenary conclave organized by the Union Public Service Commission in New Delhi. And Prime Minister Modi meets the Indian women's blind cricket team which won the T20 World Cup.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. President Droupadi Murmu addressed the Odisha Legislative Assembly on the first day of winter session of the House. The President called for collective efforts to build a prosperous Odisha by its centenary year in 2036. She said that such progress would be the state's greatest contribution to achieving India's goal of becoming a developed nation by 2047. Notably, it was the first instance when a President of India addressed the Odisha Assembly. Prime Minister Modi inaugurated the Indian space startup Skyroot's Infinity campus in Hyderabad via video conferencing on Thursday. He unveiled the company's first orbital rocket named Vikram-1, which can launch satellites into orbit. The state-of-the-art facility will have 200,000 square feet of workspace for designing, developing, integrating and testing multiple launch vehicles with a capacity to build one orbital rocket every month.
2, 1, 0.
A major boost for India's private space ambitions. Hyderabad-based Skyroot Aerospace today opened its Infinity campus, a facility dedicated to building and testing multiple launch vehicles under one roof. Inaugurated virtually by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the campus spans almost 2 lakh square feet and aims to manufacture one orbital rocket every month. At the heart of today's event was the unveiling of Vikram-1, Skyroot's first orbital class rocket capable of placing satellites into low Earth orbit. The company says the new facility will significantly speed up production timelines for the Vikram series. Skyroot, founded by former ISRO scientists Pawan Chandana and Bharat Dhaka, has been at the forefront of India's private space growth. In 2022, it became the first Indian private company to launch a rocket, Vikram-S, into space. Addressing the event, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the rise of private space companies reflect the success of recent reforms in the sector.
सरकार ने स्पेस सेक्टर को प्राइवेट इनोवेशन के लिए ओपन किया। नई स्पेस पॉलिसी तैयार की गई। हमने स्टार्टअप्स को, इंडस्ट्री को इनोवेशन के साथ जोड़ने का प्रयास किया। हमने इन स्पेस की स्थापना की, अपने स्टार्टअप्स के लिए इसरो की फैसिलिटीज और टेक्नोलॉजी को उपलब्ध कराया, यानी भारत ने बीते 6-7 वर्षों में ही अपने स्पेस सेक्टर को एक ओपन, कोऑपरेटिव और इनोवेशन ड्रिवन इकोसिस्टम में बदल दिया है.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also praised the contributions of India's Gen Z in taking the nation to new heights.
फिनटेक हो, एग्रीटेक हो, हेल्थ टेक हो, क्लाइमेट टेक हो, एजुटेक हो, डिफेंस टेक हो, हर क्षेत्र में भारत के युवा, हमारे जैन जी नए समाधान दे रहे हैं.
With the Infinity Campus now operational, Skyroot will accelerate work on commercial satellite launches using the Vikram series. The company says the new integrated facility housing manufacturing, assembly and testing will boost efficiency and reduce turnaround time. India's private space industry has expanded rapidly in recent years, driven by reforms that open the sector for collaboration and investment. Skyroot's progress is seen as a key step towards building an Atmanirbhar competitive launch ecosystem. From New Delhi, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
In an exclusive conversation with DD India, Skyroot Aerospace's co-founder and CEO Pawan Kumar Chandana thanked Prime Minister Modi for unveiling the company's first orbital rocket, Vikram 1.
We are very proud that Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji himself took time to inaugurate India's largest rocket factory, which you see here. And he has also taken time to unveil India's first commercial rocket, Vikram 1, which you can see here. This is going to create new capability in India towards Honorable Prime Minister's goal to reach 50 launches by 2030. And for that, we have created this infrastructure. And very happy, proud that Honorable Prime Minister himself has taken time to do the inauguration and unveil the rocket.
And Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla expressed optimism about the growth of Indian private space sector. Take a listen.
Today we are at Skyroot's Infinity campus, which was inaugurated by our Honorable Prime Minister today morning. And in the background you can show the Vikram 1 rocket, which you can see going to launch in a few months' time. And I think this is going to be a defining moment for India's space journey, private sector. The first of its class orbital segment launch, and I'm very excited to see that and seeing this transforming how the world views India's private sector in space.
The third India-Indonesia Defence Ministers Dialogue was held in New Delhi. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh co-chaired the event alongside his Indonesian counterpart. The two ministers reviewed regional security developments, discussed about multilateral issues and explored new areas to deepen bilateral defence cooperation. Minister Singh said that the signing of an enhanced agreement on defence cooperation between India and Indonesia strengthened the two nations' commitment to augment defence cooperation.
In May 2018, as well as the signing of the enhanced agreement on defence cooperation. By frequent meetings with His Excellency Prabowo Subianto as Defence Minister, further strengthen both our countries' commitment to augment defence cooperation. Through the decades, our defence ties have flourished, built on the foundation of the mutual commitment to regional security. Today's dialogue serves as a testament to the growing strength of our defence cooperation, which is an important pillar of our cooperation. Excellency, during the deliberations today, I look forward to have free and frank exchange of views to further deepen and expand our bilateral defence cooperation.
Speaking at the event, Indonesia's defence minister said that the dialogue carries forward the strong momentum built between both nations since India's defence minister's visit to Indonesia in 2018.
Today's dialogue carries forward for the strong momentum we have built together. In 2018, the visit of India Defence Minister to Jakarta revitalized our defence cooperation through the ceremonial signing of the Defence Cooperation Agreement, DCA. We both sides emphasizing the importance of translating discussion into concrete and practical deliverables. In this spirit, I'm confident that our dialogue today will produce concrete outcomes that strengthen trust and advance the strategic partnership between our two defense establishments.
The Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister addressed the centenary conclave organized by the Union Public Service Commission in New Delhi, stressing that the world is becoming more interconnected and volatile. The official said that civil servants must act as managers of uncertainty, interpreters of complexity, and guardians of India's strategic interests amid rising challenges in tech, cyber, AI, and critical minerals.
The world is becoming more interconnected and more volatile. Strategic competition is no longer limited to military power alone. It spans technology, supply chains, data, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, space, and critical minerals. Today's civil servant is more than an administrator. He is also a manager of uncertainty, an interpreter of complexity, and a guardian of India's strategic interest.
Weather conditions across Sri Lanka and the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry are expected to worsen as a deep depression of Sri Lanka's eastern coast has intensified into cyclonic storm Ditwa. A series of heavy rainfall warnings have been issued for multiple districts over the coming days. In India, the Met Department predicts that cyclone Ditwa is expected to approach northern Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and southern Andhra Pradesh's coastal stretch by early morning local time on 30th November. The system is about 120 kilometers southeast of Batticaloa in Sri Lanka and moving north-northwestwards. In Sri Lanka, authorities warn that the system will bring heavy rainfall, thunderstorms and strong winds across much of the island. Rainfall exceeding 200 millimeters is likely in several northern and central districts, with winds expected to reach 60 to 70 kilometers per hour and gusts up to 80 kilometers per hour. Prime Minister Modi met with the Indian women's blind cricket team, which won the T20 World Cup. He offered them sweets and interacted with the players at his residence in New Delhi. The Indian team created history by winning the first ever T20 World Cup for the blind, beating Nepal by 7 wickets in the final. The Indian team, led by captain Deepika T.C., remained unbeaten throughout the tournament. The Perth pitch that hosted the first Ashes Test was rated as very good by the International Cricket Council despite the game finishing inside 2 days. Under the governing body's 4-tier rating system, very good is the highest possible rating for a pitch with good carry, limited seam movement and consistent bounce early in the match. The ICC says that the pitch allowed for a balanced contest between batters and bowlers. Australia took a 1-0 lead in the 5-match series with an 8-wicket win in a test that saw 19 wickets fall on day 1. Day 2 saw another flurry of wickets as England were bowled out for 164 before Travis Head's incredible 123 guided Australia to victory. A torch relay for the 2026 Winter Games has begun in Greece's ancient city of Olympia. The traditional outdoor ceremony was cancelled in advance because of weather warnings. The torch will pass through 60 Italian cities, 300 towns and involve more than 10,000 torchbearers before reaching Cortina d'Ampezzo on 26 January. The journey will conclude in Milan on 6 February for the Games' opening ceremony. And before we close, once a farming community, Lo Lo Chai village in the Tueng Quang province of Vietnam is now recognized by the UN World Tourism Organization as one of the best tourism villages in the world. As buckwheat flowers bloom across the region, Lo Lo Chai is attracting more tourists. And that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know about your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get the latest news on the DD India mobile app, which is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You may wish to scan the QR code that's now on the screen to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.